Happy lunch hour, gang. All right, as the snow continues to fall, I know this is, I've got about 2 inches so far. Knoxville's pretty much shut down. But again, it's down south. We don't have the way to remove it. So everybody's staying home today. It's Martin Luther King Day. So pretty much everything's closed: the post office, the banks, stock market, whole 9 yards. Okay. But it doesn't mean that money isn't moving today or things aren't being done. And it's important for us all to kind of have an idea of what's going on. Y'all know as well as I do that it's days like today or a weekend, where this is a good time for the powers that be kind of slip in under the radar pieces of information that they hope are forgotten. All right. They feel obligated to tell us about it, but hey, if we put it on at 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night, nobody's really going to pay attention and we won't know. So every year, Reuters, y'all know who Reuters is, talks to the major financial institutions, the brokerage houses, the banks, about what their forecasts are for the coming year. And they've put the information out now, 2 weeks into the year, and we take a look at it. And it's kind of interesting because being an election year, this is going to be a hard one to swallow for a lot of people. And those of us who are aware of it ahead of time can be ready for what happens. Okay. I'll give you this as an idea. You take a look at the 7 major investment banks around the world, and collectively, they figure that the U.S. GDP is going to be, for the year, gross domestic product, combination of all goods and services sold in the country, is going to show growth of somewhere between 1 and 1.5%. Remember when Trump said he was going to get GDP back above 4, and Obama asked, "What do you have, a magic wand?" And Trump said, "Watch me," and did. Okay. Joe has gone back to those same idiotic policies and dragged our GDP down to next to nothing again. But so the banks are all seeing 1 to 1.5% increase in GDP. The problem is those same banks are forecasting 2 to 3% inflation. That's a problem when productivity doesn't go up as much as the cost of goods and services. Right? Okay. I mean, again, we start talking about what do we have? A supply and demand issue. It's economics 101 here. Okay. Productivity is down. Okay. Less supply, prices are up. Gee, now we wind up compounding. It's a snowball effect. Okay. This is a notion that Democrats have had for 50 years. Okay. That inflation fosters growth. Unfortunately, for 50 years, there's countless amounts of information and data that prove that this does not work. Okay. Trickle up in economics does not work. It's been proven constantly. Okay. You've had dozens of countries in the last 50 years try to, quote unquote, fertilize their economies with inflation. The only thing they ever harvested were weeds. Okay. It doesn't work. And this is what we're going to face. We're going to face higher prices. And again, this is what they are talking about, CPI numbers. And I know what we'll all say about inflation, right? Okay. But GDP is pretty much accepted. And you guys know as well as I do that, we aren't producing anything more. We're getting rid of jobs. Kind of like, Citigroup announced today they're laying off 20,000 people. It's a lot of jobs. Okay? And Citigroup isn't some retailer scanning stuff out for you. These are financial services jobs. The banks aren't making any money. Figure, how the hell are the banks not making any money? Interest rates are up. Loans cost more. Nobody's taking them out. You all know the stories on people not buying houses because mortgage rates are too high, or can't afford houses because mortgage rates are too high. There was an economist that put out a story today that said to be middle class, to afford a home, okay, this is what he's defining middle class as: somebody that can afford a home. A household needs to bring in $120,000 a year. Mind you this, the average income in the United States is around 70, and the median income is just over 50. Median being 50% of the people above and 50% of the people below. Okay? Neither one of them are close to $120,000, and that's what it takes to buy a house. That's it. Okay. We're starting to see the culmination of everything we have talked about, at least I have talked about on this channel for 3+ years, about trying to destroy the middle class, about trying to make sure that nobody can own a home, that making us all dependent on the government. Okay. You can't buy a home. Take a look at what's going on in Maine right now. Maine is building new apartments, new ones. Okay. And they're using it all to house illegals. They're not using it to house the 10.3% of Maine's population that is effectively homeless. No, they're using it to house illegals. Okay. I asked you a couple of years ago about noticing in your area whether they are building houses or apartments, and a lot of you said, wow, there are a lot of apartment buildings going up. Because that's what the whole idea is. We've talked about 15-minute cities. And what was it, just a couple of weeks ago? We heard of Disney's plan to build a 15-minute city in the Carolinas. Really? All these things. We've talked about food prices for how many years now? And now it's gotten too expensive. We've talked about job losses and what's happening. Exactly what I thought was. Beginning of the year, we were going to see layoffs. That's what we're seeing. Okay. This shouldn't have come as a surprise to anybody who pays attention to what's going on. Hell, I talked about it 3 years ago, and it's not like I'm the sharpest knife in the drawer. Okay. If I can figure this out, sure enough, people that are smarter than me can, from sitting out here in rural Tennessee. These are things that we need to pay attention to. If our GDP is going to go down, if inflation is going to continue to go up, how can we insulate ourselves from the fallout? A lot of us are doing a lot of those things, have been doing, accumulating the product that we need when everything goes completely south, whether it's more food, whether it's water, whether it's guns and ammunition, whether it's a power source, whether it's more clothing or blankets or medicines or whatever. Those of us that have been accumulating those things are sitting in a whole lot better shape than people who the light bulb moment is going off now. But at least for those people, at least they're having the light bulb moment now and have a little bit of time before it all blows up. It's the people that are going, the government will save us. Right. The government's the one that's caused the problem. Okay. And unless you are completely stuck with your head in the sand like an ostrich, okay, and believe the government's going to save us, you must be a Biden supporter at that point, because this is like, look, inflation's down. No, it's still higher than it was when you took office, but your policies took inflation up to 9% last year, and now that it's come back down, still higher than it was when Trump left office. You're saying that's a good thing. No, it's not. Okay. Oh, gas prices are down. $2.65 yesterday here in town. It was $1.70 the day Trump left office. Granted, it ain't $4, but no, you can't take credit for solving a problem that you caused. Okay. We all need to do whatever we can to insulate ourselves from a coming financial calamity. More jobs are going to be lost this year. Things are going to get more expensive this year. Things are going to become more scarce this year, harder to get. Okay? You look at what Warren Buffett did. Warren Buffett is moving money out of equities, not all of it. Okay, he has controlling interest in a whole bunch of companies. He's moving out of equities, stocks, and into treasuries. Okay? Warren Buffett knows a hell of a lot more about investing than I ever will. Okay? I still question the moving money into treasuries, but if he's playing the short-term game, figure, okay, there's a guaranteed return that he can get on moving money into treasuries. Okay? He's kind of hedging himself. You know, somebody may say, why doesn't Warren Buffett go into CDs? Well, you know, when you're talking about millions, if not billions of dollars being moved, $250,000 or $400,000 of FDIC insurance. I mean, Warren Buffett's not going to go out and try to find 15,000 banks that he can buy CDs in. Okay, you can at least put it in treasuries. Giving you that as an idea. Want to follow Warren Buffett? That's fine. I'm not a big believer in putting money in treasuries. The full faith and credit of the United States government is not something that gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. At least under this administration, and certainly with Congress for God knows how many decades at this point on pissing money away. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I mean, you figure Iowa's tonight, New Hampshire is next week. By then, I figure Ron DeSantis is out. South Carolina follows shortly thereafter. That'll be the end of Nikki Haley. And then we'll finally get to where we are, the actual presidential campaign, you know, because the Democrats aren't allowing anybody to run other than their selected candidate, which is Joe. Even though there are other candidates, the Democrats won't even put them on the ballot. Okay. You know, their primary ballots. But this is where we are. I mean, we've got to a point. Take a look at Germany today. And maybe you guys know about the protests that are going on in Germany with the farmers, the truckers, everything about this. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of people protesting in Germany today. And the government's answer was, I'm sorry, there is no more money for subsidies, right? Keep the farmers going, to feed the German people, to actually export any of the food and actually bring money in. Yet Germany can still afford to be sending money to Ukraine. Reminds me a lot of the United States. You know, the America Last policy, the Germany Last policy. Why don't they have any more money? Margaret Thatcher coined that one real well. Problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. Pinball out.